In this video, we're going to learn about the paper shuffle activity. By the end of this video, the participants will be able to implement the paper shuffle activity in order to develop the student's ability to write a claim and to elaborate upon a topic. In the previous videos, we learned about how to develop a writing prompt and a graphic organizer that supports the prompt. Now we need to have the students begin planning their essay and develop their thoughts in order to respond to the prompt created. The paper shuffle activity is an effective way to increase collaboration in the classroom and have students respond to one another's thoughts in order to develop their own ideas. The paper shuffle activity can either be used to support the writing prompt that was previously designed, or it can be used to support a new task. The main purpose of this activity is to have students develop their own claim or opinion while also responding to one another's. Students are able to build off one another's ideas in order to further clarify and develop their own. The steps to implementing the paper shuffle activity are very simple. Number 1, identify a provoking quote or a question. Number 2, have the students respond to the quote or the question individually. Number 3, collect the students' papers and then redistribute them to new students. Number 4, have the new students respond to the previous students' responses or a prompt or a starter sentence. Number 5, repeat steps 2 through 4 until you feel that there are enough responses on each student's paper. This is usually about 3 to 4 rounds. Number 6, recollect the papers and return them to the original student. And number 7, have the student read and analyze the responses in order to develop and write a new opinion, claim, or a response. For steps 1 and 2, the quote or the prompt can be the same that you developed during Objective 1 in order to help students develop a claim around that topic. Students will have to read the prompt or question and write a 2 to 3 sentence response. During steps 3 through 5, when you redistribute the papers, encourage students not to figure out who wrote the responses above them in order to help keep the activity objective. For each round, you can have several different prompts or sentence starters in order to promote thinking and to have the students vary their responses for each round. Examples of these include, I agree with, respond to the previous person's response, I really like, I think that is a good idea because, I would like to add, I do not agree with because, on the other hand, I understand, however, I believe, a counterclaim to this would be, I think, or I suggest. Depending on your students, you will also want to set a time limit of 3 to 5 minutes per round in order to ensure that the students stay on task and are fully answering the prompts. Once all of the questions and the prompts have been completed, the teacher will return the papers to the original student during steps 6 and 7. At this time, the students will be required to read and analyze all of the students' responses in order to develop a new opinion of evidence and analysis of the evidence. If required, the student can also use a counterclaim that was written on their paper and demonstrate why it was incorrect. Make sure during this step that they do not make any inappropriate comments about others' responses. And if they have any questions about what someone wrote, they should speak with the teacher individually about it. Although the responses should be anonymous, this will help eliminate any anxiety or singling out of students' responses. The paper shuffle activity provides students with a way to write extensively and meaningfully over an extended period of time. Since each paper shuffle is timed, usually 3 to 5 minutes, the students will effectively be writing for over 25 minutes, including the individual piece at the end, which, for some students, is a very substantial amount. The beauty about this strategy is that it can be tailored specifically to your grade level, content area, and your students' abilities. Regardless of your grade level, for the first section of the activity, when students are participating in the paper shuffle, they are writing arguments or opinions using valid reasoning and evidence from a text. Finally, for the second part of the activity, when they are developing their own claim with supporting evidence and analysis, they are not only using their background knowledge, but also have to comprehend and digest the information written by their peers. If the students are capable of expanding their writing further, they can develop a counterclaim from their peers' writing and discuss how it is incorrect. Before you implement this strategy, there are a few key takeaways. Number 1, know your students. This part is twofold. First, you want to have complete control over the classroom before implementing this activity, in order to ensure that the students will provide accurate and meaningful responses during the paper shuffle. Secondly, if you are in a class with students on several different levels, make sure you know before whose paper you want to switch with who. It would be best to distribute the papers amongst students at the same academic level in order to ensure that they all receive similar feedback and responses. Number 2, set clear guidelines. If you want the students to write for 3 minutes, make sure they write for the full time. Also, prompt students to not write the same response on each paper. Although they will be switching papers and therefore several students will have a single response, this activity is intended to encourage them to develop and formulate their own opinion as well as share it. For the final response, set clear guidelines on what and how much the students should be writing, and what evidence they should use in their response. And finally, number 3, use scaffolds when necessary. Sometimes students may have difficulty starting a sentence or conveying their response in writing. For this reason, it would be beneficial to have sentence starters, prompts, or guiding questions for students in order to help them respond. Prompts are encouraged in order to persuade students to develop different responses for each round of the paper shuffle in order to help them formulate their own opinion of the task. This is an example of a student's worksheet from a paper shuffle. During this activity, each box or section will be completed by a different student. We are now going to watch a short video clip of the paper shuffle being demonstrated in a classroom. Today we're going to be doing the paper shuffle activity in order to answer the question, should the United States bid to host future Olympic Games? Right now, you are each going to take 3 minutes in answering the following prompt in the first box. Should the United States bid to host future Olympic Games? I'm now going to collect your papers so I can distribute them to new students. Now, I'm going to give you a different student's paper, and you're going to fill in the second box which says, respond to the prompt above or the person's claim. Now, since we have switched papers for a third time, you're going to respond to one or both of the claims above with the following sentence starters. I agree with, I would like to add, or I disagree with. Now I'm going to recollect the papers so I can give them back to the original student. The last part of the paper shuffle is that you will each receive your original paper back. You'll have to read your classmates' responses in order to write a paragraph based off the prompt. Be sure to include a claim, evidence, analysis of the evidence, and acknowledge a counterclaim. Remember, the prompt is, should the United States bid to host future Olympic Games?